Come and enter the tomb where we will lay. Come and make yourself ready to receive his body. The darkness has descended one more time on an innocent human being. An innocent human being who will be killed for no reason other than caring for others and refusing to compromise his love. Come sit with me in the dark and wait. There is room for you all. You know the story. You know the story, but hear it again as we wait. Last evening, we all gathered at the table for the Passover meal with Jesus at the head and said the words that made it all real. Our fears were spoken. So hear the story again.
While they were eating, he took a loaf of bread, and after blessing it, he broke it, gave it to them, and said, "Take, this is my body." Then he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, and all of them drank from it. He said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly, I tell you, I will never drink again of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new in the kingdom of God." When they had sung the hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. And Jesus said to them, "You will all become deserters, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter said to him, "Even though all become deserters, I will not." Jesus said to him, "Truly, I tell you this day, this very night, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." But he said vehemently, "Even though I must die with you, I will not deny you." And all of them said the same.
You were there, weren't you? You were there, weren't you? At the table and in the garden, listening. Listening as and wondering if you were the one that was denied and betrayed. We all wondered, didn't we? And he said he would stick with us to the end. You heard Peter, right, in the garden, and he said, right to the end, he'd be there no matter what. And he wondered, was it us too? And here we are hiding in the shadows, reading. Take this cup, the very cup that he held up to Peter. Raise it to your lips and taste the bitterness of our failure. And we all carry it in our hearts. Pray. Pray like your life depends on it, like you did in the garden last evening. Pray rather than drift off to sleep.
Those whose lives are denied, those whose homes are on the street with no roofs, those whose way of loving is denied and condemned, those who worked for too little to live on. This candle dims so that we remember.
They went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took with him Peter and James and John, and began to be distressed and agitated. And he said to them, I am deeply grieved, even to death. Remain here and keep awake. And going a little farther, he threw himself on the ground and prayed that, if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me. Yet, not what I want, but what you want. He came and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, Simon, are you asleep? Could you not keep awake 1 hour? Keep awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words. And once more he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to say to him. He came a third time and said to them, Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Enough. The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up. Let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand.
Our darkness is never darkness in your sight, but this light is clear as a daylight. Our darkness is never darkness in your sight, but this light is clear as a daylight. Our darkness is never darkness in your sight, but this light is clear as a daylight.
For those who yearn for hope, for a way out of the prison of abuse and suffering. Refugees driven from their homes by violence. Those escaping the wastelands of drought and heat. For the woman seeking freedom from an abusive partner. This candle dims to remind us of their hope.
That is the promise, isn't it? That our darkness does not hide us from God. Like the child that's playing hide and seek, hiding and hoping not to be forgotten. Jesus was forgotten by his friends, by the world. Do not fear this suffering. Do not fear this suffering. It's worse than death, really, to be forgotten. Worse than the pain, the suffering of losing who we are, being forgotten. We betray ourselves with our neglect of our true self. What baggage do we carry, hiding from God? That's why we come to this tomb today. Here we do not hide from God, but rather we hide from the worldly lies, lies we tell ourselves, lies the world tells us. Here we have surrendered to the work of the cross. So let us hear again the story we know so well, of how he was betrayed and condemned.
Immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived, and with him there was a crowd with swords and clubs. Now the betrayer had given them signs, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Arrest him and lead him away under guard." So when he came, he went up to him at once and said, "Rabbi," and kissed him. Then they laid hands on him and arrested him. They took Jesus to the high priest, and all the chief priests, the elders, and the scribes were also assembled. Peter had followed him at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest, and he was sitting with the guards, warming himself at the fire. Now the chief priests and the whole council were looking for testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they found none. For many gave false testimony against him, and their testimony did not agree. Some stood up and gave false testimony again, saying, "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this temple that is made with hands, and in 3 days I will build another, not made with hands.' But even on this point, their testimony did not agree." Then the high priest stood up before them and asked Jesus, "Have you no answer? What is it that they testify against you?" But he was silent and did not answer. Again, the high priest asked him, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus said, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the power and coming with the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "Why do we still need witnesses? You have heard this blasphemy. What is your decision?" All of them condemned him as deserving death. Some began to spit on him, to blindfold him, and to strike him, saying, "Prophesy." The guards also took him over and beat him.
We have to prepare ourselves. This won't be long now. We won't even recognize his body when he brings here to lay in his tomb. The soldiers beat him for no particular reason. Maybe because, as a man of peace, he pointed out the lies of their violence. So we better prepare ourselves. Still, as we read, as we hear, as we remember the story, as we remember that night, we hope that someone will stay by him through this long night.
For those who find doors closed because of the color of their skin, their name, the way they talk or look, condemned and pushed aside for no reason within their control. This candle dims to remind us of their need for justice.
While Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came by. When she saw Peter warming himself, she stared at him and said, "You also were with Jesus, the man from Nazareth. But he denied it, saying, I do not know or understand what you are talking about. And he went out into the forecourt. Then the cock crowed, and the servant girl, on seeing him, began again to say to the bystanders, This man is one of them. But again he denied it. Then, after a little while, bystanders again said to Peter, Certainly you are one of them, for you are a Galilean. But he began to curse, and he swore an oath, I do not know this man you are talking about. At that moment, the cock crowed for the second time. Then Peter remembered that Jesus had said to him, Before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. And he broke down and wept. As soon as it was morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and whole council. They bound Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate asked him, Are you the king of the Jews? He answered him, You say so. Then the chief priests accused him of many things. Pilate asked him again, Have you no answer? See how many charges they bring against you? But Jesus made no further reply, so that Pilate was amazed. Now at the festival, he, being Pilate, used to release a prisoner for them, anyone for whom they asked. Now a man called Barabbas was in prison with the rebels who had committed murder during the insurrection. So the crowd came and began to ask Pilate to do for them according to his custom. Then he answered them, Do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews? For he realized that it was out of jealousy that the chief priests had handed him over. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have him release Barabbas for them instead. Pilate spoke to them again. Then, what do you wish me to do with the man you call the king of the Jews? They shouted back, Crucify him! Pilate asked them, Why? What evil has he done? But they shouted all the more, Crucify him! So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas for them. And after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified. Then the soldiers led him into the courtyard of the palace, that is, the governor's headquarters. And they called together the whole cohort. And they clothed him in a purple cloak. And after twisting some thorns into a crown, they put it on him. And they began saluting him, Hail, King of the Jews! They struck his head with a reed, spat upon him, and knelt down in homage to him. After mocking him, they stripped him of the purple cloak and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him out to crucify him. They compelled a passerby who was coming in from the country to carry his cross. It was Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus. Then they brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. And they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him and divided his clothes among them, casting lots to decide what each should take. It was 9 o'clock in the morning when they crucified him. The inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And with him they crucified 2 bandits, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by derided him, shaking their heads and saying, "Oh, you who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself and come down from the cross." In the same way, the chief priests, along with the scribes, were also mocking him among themselves and saying, "He saved others, he cannot save himself. Let the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from the cross now, so that we may see and believe." Those who were crucified with him also taunted him. When it was noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of the bystanders who heard it, they said, "Listen, he is calling for Elijah." And someone ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a stick and gave it to him to drink, saying, "Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come and take him down." Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last. And the curtain of the temple was torn in 2 from top to bottom. Now when the centurion who stood facing him saw that in this way he breathed his last, he said, "Truly, this man was God's Son." There were also women looking on from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James the younger, and of Joseph, and Salome. These used to follow him and provided for him when he was in Galilee. And there were many other women who had come with him to Jerusalem.
Here they come, bringing his body down to this tomb that we have made ready. Do you dare look? The poor, battered one. Here, I carry the confessional. We made the tomb ready. Have you made your heart ready? Have you opened up your heart? Laid down all the struggles and suffering of living in this world and let them lay here in the tomb? Are you ready? Today we die with him on the Roman cross. Now we wait in silence and hope and grief. All the grief we carry from living and loving in this sacred world is buried here in this tomb with our friend.
Us, all of us, for all of humanity that struggle and hope for light and a future. This candle dims to make room for the new light of God. May it come soon.
When evening had come, and since it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, who was also himself waiting expectantly for the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate wondered if he were already dead, and summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he had been dead for some time. When he learned from the centurion that he was dead, he granted the body to Joseph. Then Joseph bought a linen cloth, and taking down the body, wrapped it in the linen cloth, and laid it in a tomb that had been hewn out of the rock. He then rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where the body was laid.
Lot that's in. Roll the stone over the entrance and block out the light for our friend as being murdered by the empire, murdered for loving us to the release of the world. Block us in.
For Jesus.
When you come